is calling you. The universe is calling me. It speaks both day and night. It's full of dark and light.
Hello there and welcome to Sky Tour Radio here on the best station alive, kgraradio.com. I'm Mark D'Antonio, your host of the Sky Tour Radio 2 hours of astronomy. And I have with me, of course, the wonderful co-host, Amanda Curran. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, just fine. And we also have with us Daryl Mason. Daryl, what's going on, brother?
Hi, Mark. Well, it's showtime, and I'm here. We'll see how it goes. Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Daryl.
We have you outnumbered, Mark. Amanda's sick, and I'm sick, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I wasn't going to let on. I feel like I have a bit of a head cold, but I'll try to.
I'm sorry to hear that.
You'll tell when my voice starts going throughout the show. That's why. But no, I'm ready to do some learning and hear some cool stuff and the week right.
But wait, this was your week to actually have the show, Amanda. You're supposed to take the lead here.
You're a funny guy.
Oh.
Look at that. He's here. He hears I'm a little bit under the weather, and he attacks.
I didn't attack.
Yeah.
I did not. It was a playful, like a cat, batting a feather hanging from a string. Okay, well that's all it was. It was kind of fun.
I joked last week that one of these days, with the ascendancy of Amanda, it's going to be the Amanda Curran show with co-host Mark Antonio.
I don't doubt that could happen. I don't doubt, but it's probably going to be a show about the Beatles, not about astronomy, right?
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, folks, I know this is sort of an unorthodox opening to Sky Tour Radio this week. We weren't here last week because of technical difficulties at KGRA, but we're back and raring to go. Had a great show last week for you, but that show is going to go now this week, and we're going to have some fun tonight. And Daryl will be talking about a few interesting things in the night sky that are out there and that we can maybe look for with Sky Tour live stream, actually, with our observatory telescopes for everybody. If we can get a chance to do that, it depends how if we can see that part of the sky. It's close.
It depends on how late you want to stay up, too.
Well, that's the other thing, too,
But I'll talk about that when the time comes.
No worries. As an astronomer, I'm used to not getting much sleep. I used to work a midnight to dawn shift with a 40-foot telescope in an observatory in the middle of the winter, and you can't heat the domes. So it was frigid in there, and I don't know. It seemed like every night I was working in there, I would think, why am I doing this? Why did I decide to do this? And then I would look through the telescope and say, oh, yeah, that's why. Wow, And that wow factor is the reason that Sky Tour Livestream exists. We started the observatory and turned it into a remotely accessible observatory where people can join from all over the world on YouTube and check out amazing sights, the deep sky. Build New York Skywatcher does the meteors with wide-angle views, stunning views. P&K Space Imaging do the moon and planets. And Sky Tour Livestream does the deep sky and takes you to all the nebulae, the galaxies, the clusters, the dying stars, the asteroids passing through the fields, comets. Together, that's part of astroimaginglive.com. And you can join us there or you can join us individually. But it's fun to come out and check it out. We're not being paid. No one's paying us for this. And we think that public outreach, at least for me, as an astronomer, public outreach is probably the most important aspect of astronomy. You have to get people engaged. You have to show them what's over their heads, especially if they're in the city and they look up and they just see kind of a cruddy, kind of a orangey hue to the sky with a little blue mixed in now for the LED lights that are out there now. It really is terrible, and nobody wants to look at that. But if you tell them there's more to it, then maybe they'll take the trip out of the city and go into the country And so what we do with the observatory is we take people into the, well, virtual country, and we let them see the sky as seen from a dark location. And the sights we see in Sky Tour Livestream are actually pretty stunning. I know that I myself have been moved to well, be somewhat emotional when I've seen some things for the first time that I've never seen, because I came from a light polluted environment. And when I look in the sky and see magic happening in the camera, I can't believe it, And Sky Tour Livestream is going to be joined in the, well, we're building the building at the end of June out in the middle of the Sonoran Desert in Arizona, where the sky is not only dark, but it's way darker than here. And this area is not so bad. And we're going to have beautiful horizon to horizon Milky Way. If you ever saw Orion in the night sky, Betelgeuse, okay, Bellatrix, Rigel, and Saiph, and then the Belt of Three in the middle. You see that constellation. It's pretty obvious. But out in the middle of the desert, where there's no light pollution, it's actually kind of tricky to pick out the constellation of Orion because there's so many more stars to distract you. So I can't even begin to say how much better it's going to be. We're just going to have to experience it. So if you get a chance, do join Sky Tour Livestream on YouTube. And you'll find when you listen to any of our Sky Tour live streams, you're going to find Amanda is there and Daryl is there. And because Amanda's been the co-host of Sky Tour live streams since I think the very beginning, right, Amanda?
I believe so.
Yeah. And Daryl's joined us as well because Daryl is what I call an astronomer's astronomer. He's the guy that can tell the astronomers a thing or two.
Oh.
All right. He has his own set of knowledge, skills, and capabilities that he doesn't like to admit to, as you just heard. But you know something? I think the three of us make a happy triumvirate, and I think that the show is not the same without any one of them. So I think that if you like Sky Tour Radio, what you're really saying is you like Daryl and Amanda, and maybe even me sometimes. So I really appreciate their presence, and I want to thank them publicly for that. I also want to thank Bill New York Skywatcher, who was our esteemed producer. That guy, you can't imagine the running around he does, okay?
Not this nor Sky Tour live stream would be happening without Bill.
That's correct. Sky Tour live stream, the observatory stream, actually is happening and has come into being because of Keith from P&K Space Imaging and Paul from the same, and Bill. The three of them said, "Oh, you have to stream. You have to stream." And I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to stream. Come on. Who does that?" And then I watched some of their streams. I watched Bill's. And, his energy is infectious. All right. And when he has this infectious laughter, too. And then if you have him as a guest on your show, you know what he does? He interviews you. The guy is just like a font of amazing knowledge and capabilities. So he's wonderful, too. And so between all of them, and no, we're not just patting everybody in the back here today. I'm really pointing out what makes this place tick. Okay. Sky Tour Radio is the product of Bill New York Skywatcher's direct intervention. We wouldn't be here without Bill saying, "You have to be on the radio," and I'm going to talk to the folks at KGRA. Well, I also know the folks at KGRA. We're all good friends. But the thing is, I never thought of doing a radio show. When we first did a radio show, Amanda, we had an hour from was it 8 to 9 or 9 to 10, I think, actually. And yeah, and then we started getting people saying an hour's too short, an hour's too short. Next thing you know, what do we do? Our Sunday night slot was really good. So it turns out that Commander Cobra was willing to go back an hour. We didn't ask for that. In fact, we said, "I don't want to have you interfere with your audience." But you know what he did? He said, "No, I think that's great. I think it's a good idea. Let's do it." So he went back an hour, and we got the extra hour. All right, and he went earlier. So it's all like a family here. We work out the issues that we have, and we try to make sure that everybody is comfortable with everybody else. It's really kind of a very cool environment to work with. So all that said, if you guys are interested in talking to us, you can talk to us a number of ways. Later on in the show, we're going to open up the call-in line, and that is 85KGRA live. And for those of you that like numbers, it's 855-472-5483. Okay, so you just call either of those numbers, but later on, and we'll probably put that in the chat when we're ready to go. You can also email us if you like at skytourradio@kgraradio.com. That's kgraradio.com. Now, tonight on SkyTour Radio, I want to just make a note of something that I want to offer out or mention to everybody listening. If you have anything that you want us to talk about astronomically or whatever, well, astronomically, because it's primarily an astronomy show. So don't call asking about cats. If you do that, then you got to talk to Amanda.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, don't discourage calls about cats, please.
Well, I really didn't do that. I just said if you call looking for cats, then you got to talk to Amanda.
Yeah.
See, I included you. See?
You can call about cats if you want.
They're funny. They're cute. So if you want to call and if you want to talk about anything, you can email us, you can call us, you can ask about any of the astronomical phenomena, like some of the near-Earth asteroids that kind of whizzed by recently, or like comets that are happening. Daryl's going to tell you about one in a little while. And I just think that we have a really, really good combination of talents here that will make these concepts very understandable to you, because I like to say that science is for everybody. And there are people that say, I can't understand that stuff. Well, if it's not explained to you in a way that you can understand, then I get it. It's so easy to let the arrogance of science take you onto a high pedestal and say, well, I understand these things in astrophysics. So what the heck with them? They'll just have to get an education. Well, I don't believe that. See, I think of it as science is for all of you. And if you can't understand what I'm saying, that's not your failure. That's mine. And so I have to step up to the plate and try and make it more understandable. I think that nearly everybody can understand. There are some select few that simply cannot or refuse to, and that's not my fault. I make my best effort. So I think that is something that makes SkyTour Radio what it is, right? I mean, and Amanda does this, Daryl does this too. So I think it's a good combination. Now, typically on SkyTour Radio, what we do is we have an exoplanet roundup followed by a feature. But tonight we're going to actually take a little side road from the exoplanet roundup, because we want to take a little side road about 1,000 light years away, let's say. Now, I know that sounds far, but you know something? It really is pretty close when you consider that what astronomers have found only 1,000 light years away is a black hole. It's the nearest black hole to us we've ever discovered. And its existence tells us that there's probably a lot more like it out there. So that's actually a pretty interesting development. Now, it's 1,000 light years away, as I said, in the constellation of Telescopium. And Amanda, what constellation might that be of?
No, I'd say a telescope.
Oh, you are absolutely right. Thank you. Hey, look, I got nervous too, because you could have thought it was a trick question, But, I could offer a trick question now and then. But 1,000 light years away is actually nearby for us. And now, here's how it started. There was a study of a binary star called HR 6819. Not a very attractive or romantic name, but it's HR 6819. And they found, when they examined the orbiting components, because they thought it was a binary star with two components, something odd was happening. And that was that this second star of the pair was doing some really odd motions, and they couldn't understand why, because there was nothing there to account for it. But it was moving in a very odd way. And it was orbiting something unseen every 40 days. Well, that second star, okay, that second star orbits the black hole, or the black hole orbits it, or they're actually a mutual orbit. And then together they orbit another star that's much further away. Now, what's funny is that unseen something turns out to be none other than a black hole. but it's an odd one. This black hole is rather quiet, and it's not interacting much with its surroundings. That's odd for black holes because black holes typically interact with interstellar matter, with stars that they may be orbiting, and you will see lots of gamma rays. You'll see different radiations. The black hole will give itself away by the energy it's emitting through the interaction with another object. This one is just an unseen object. It's not interacting with anything. Now, we know that over time, black holes will evaporate. But this one seems to actually not be interacting with anything. It's not gaining any mass, apparently. So how could such a circumstance occur? This is kind of weird. Now the black hole, based on the orbits that they calculate for these two stars orbiting each other, and then this other object that the second star is orbiting, the black hole seems to be about a 4 solar mass star. I mean, that's pretty big, a 4 solar mass star. That's the size of the black hole now. Now, when we talk about black holes, and we've talked about this in the past on SkyTour Radio and in SkyTour Livestream, when we talk about black holes, we have to consider how a black hole forms. And just very quickly, we know that stars will enter their hydrogen fusing stage, and this starts their quote unquote normal lives. Okay, that's their normal lives. And when they run out of hydrogen, they may swell up into a red giant, right? And then when they run out of whatever's left, they'll just shrink down and become a white dwarf. That's for stars around the size of the sun and just a little bigger. But what about stars that are very massive? Well, massive stars, when they run out of their hydrogen, then the process that occurs is that other shells of elements will begin to fuse and around the core. But then when all that runs out, the star can literally be what's called disrupted. I like to say explode, cataclysmically, because that's really dramatic sounding, but that's exactly what happens. And the result left behind way in that core, the result of all the pressure on that core from this explosion could be a black hole. Or, if it's not quite massive enough, a neutron star. Now, that said, there are some cases where some massive stars can actually become black holes without ever going supernova. These are called DCBHs, or direct collapse black holes. Now, could this secondary companion black hole be one of those? It could. It's possible. And we're seeing it late in its quote-unquote life, so we don't see what might have been there before, the progenitor of this black hole. Or was there actually a supernova that occurred in this system long ago, and long enough ago, so that the material has been dispersed to the interstellar medium? So that's the possibility here. But it really is a cool system. The nearest black hole to us, and it's actually 3 objects. We have a main star, a secondary star, and then circling that secondary star is a black hole. And their orbit it takes 40 days for that visible secondary star to go around this black hole. It's the oddest thing, but it's really cool. I got to tell you, and it's just neat. It makes guys like me, I don't know, read a lot of stuff and stay up too late. Now,
may I add something there?
You may always add something.
We have seen a similar thing before.
You sound kind of far away. Is your mic close to you?
It is. Sorry. Let me check my level here. No.
Maybe it's just me. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
It sounds a little faint.
Well, let me bump it up one. Sorry. The supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. We've seen sort of the opposite. We've seen stellar motions as stars near the core of the galaxy, Sagittarius A star, orbiting the black hole. We've seen the stellar motions, and that sounds analogous to what we're seeing with this new discovery.
Yeah, the interesting part about this one, though, Daryl, which is interesting, is to me, is that we know that stars can survive a supernova of a companion in a binary system. But this is an interesting trinary type situation where we think that maybe there were 3 stars here.
Yes.
And one of the other pair went and did this either supernova and then left a black hole behind, or a direct collapse into a black hole. Now, is that how supermassive black holes like the ones at the center of our galaxy form? We don't actually know. And we don't really actually know the answer to that question. But we do know we can see them because, as you point out, rightly so, we can actually take a long-term 10-year study of the center of our galaxy, right, as you were saying, there's Sagittarius A, and we actually watch the stars themselves orbiting this unseen object. And that's kind of what we see here, except this was an unexpected result because it was so close to us. And it actually tells us a lot about the potential for there being more such black holes in our local neighborhood. See, and that was the key takeaway from this, is that this black hole is evidencing something else, and that is that there's more like it out there that we just don't know about. So black holes nearby might be a lot more common than we thought. You don't have to lose sleep over that, though, because that one is the nearest one that we found so far. I mean, there could be a few elsewhere, that we might not know about. I agree. But it's pretty cool, Now, we also, and again, this is part 2 of our exoplanet roundup side road. We've had a asteroid near miss. And it was back in January of 2020. An asteroid, it's minimally about 230 feet across, or 70 meters, was discovered by that same telescope that first discovered Comet Atlas Y4. And if you're familiar with the comet, that's because SkyTour Livestream has been doing observatory live nights with looking at Comet Atlas Y4. And ATLAS is actually an acronym. ATLAS stands for the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, or ATLAS. And it's in Hawaii, and it's really a very fundamentally important telescope because it checks for things that could potentially hurt us, obviously. Now, the asteroid that had this near miss to us was something that was actually seen in 2014, as it turns out. We just didn't know it at the time. Enough images were taken of it over 6 years to calculate its orbit so that it could be taken off the Sentry list, which is the list that objects that pose a danger to the Earth are placed upon until their orbits can be sufficiently calculated. And it was removed from the Sentry list. Its asteroid, the actual name of the asteroid is 2020 BX, B as in boy, BX, and then little subscript 12. So 2020 BX12. It's actually not just one asteroid. It's several. It's 2. There's a little satellite asteroid that orbits BX every 2 days or so. And BX itself orbits the sun every 2 years. And it gets out about as far as 2.4 astronomical units from the sun at aphelion, which, if you think aphelion, what's that? It's the farthest point. But how do you remember that? Well, you think ap, away. It's the same word. So, it's away from us, aphelion. All right. And it gets as close as 0.76 astronomical units at perihelion, which is closest approach to the sun. And what's interesting is you realize that when you hear something like that, you know that it's really not in a circular orbit, is it? It's actually in an elliptical orbit. And you guys would remember we've talked about eccentricity, or how uncircle-like an orbit is. So no uncircle-like qualities means it's a circular orbit. I know it's like a double negative. It's a weird thing, but that's an easy way actually to think about eccentricity. So the eccentricity of BX is around 0.75. So it's fairly elliptical. Right? When you get near 1, then you're looking at a parabolic orbit. And when you're at 0, you're in a circular orbit. Earth's eccentricity is 0.02 or something like that. It's actually nearly circular. But the orbit of this of Atlas 2020 BX12 is actually at 40 degrees to the plane of the other planets, and that plane that we all travel through is called the ecliptic. Pluto violates the ecliptic. It's got an inclination of like 17 degrees, so it's above the ecliptic. And this asteroid is at an ecliptic angle of 40 degrees. So it goes out quite a bit further than Mars, and then it heads around the sun, closer to the sun than Venus. And on February 2020, BX12 passed close to the Earth. And I'll tell you how close that was when we get back. This is Mark D'Antonio with Sky Tour Radio. With Daryl and Amanda, we'll be right back after these words.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy and gross. Bugs, I hate bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. I know. I use Orange Guard. Plus, all of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It promotes a healthier planet, and here's a bonus. Orange Guard cleans where it's sprayed. Plus, it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard.
You can get Orange Guard at Ace Hardware. And listen, folks, Orange Guard is tougher than bugs, and it's safe to use. Go to orangeguard.com. That's orangeguard.com.
Hey everybody, Rachel Ray here. Nothing brings a bigger smile to my face than cooking up a big meal for the whole family and lots of friends. But there's not enough room at my table for the 17 million kids in our country who struggle with hunger. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks collects surplus food to give hope to hungry kids. But they can't do it without your help. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Now you have the inside contact for alternative talk radio. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hey, this is Mark with Sky Tour Radio with Daryl and Amanda. Before we go forward, I would like to answer a question that was posed to us just before the break by X Lady. She offered up an image of Jupiter, a new image of Jupiter, and said, what does Mark think of the new photo of Jupiter? Well, I'm sure that what Amanda and Daryl think too is probably just as equally important. I'll tell you why. Because this image represents a real leap in technology, because It's really the sharpest observation of Jupiter ever taken from the ground. It was taken by the Gemini telescope out on Mauna Kea, Gemini North, as a matter of fact. There's several telescopes. And the telescope illustrates, in this case, it's showing us all the areas of warmth in Jupiter's cloud tops. And it's incredible. It's an infrared image, and you can see how the heat works. You can see how it's, when you look at the image, you'll see that Jupiter's bands seem to show up even when you're looking at the heat. In fact, especially so, because there's areas where the warmth is rising on Jupiter and areas where the warmth is falling. And then there's areas where there's no warmth at all, yet surrounded by heat. So it's really, really odd. And the most amazing thing in the actual photo that we're talking about has an additional property. It shows that the effect on the great red spot of Jupiter is not what was expected. It seems to have areas within the red spot which are not warm as they should be. So it's kind of a very cool looking photo. So if you get a chance, go check out this planet that's 11 times wider than the Earth and 300 times more massive. It takes 12 years for it to go around the sun. And this planet actually figures prominently into tonight's feature presentation, because we're going to be talking about astrobiology in a little while. And Jupiter features big time in that, because we're going to be talking about not Jupiter, but one of its moons. And there are actually several of its moons. So Amanda, be ready, because I'm gonna be having you go through the Galilean satellites for us.
I just went into panic mode. It's been so long since I've been asked. I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
And I remember
I
remember the furthest one out.
Not yet.
And there's an alphabetical trick I use to remember the order. Oh my God, I'm panicking.
Not yet. It's not coming yet.
And I promise I will not Google it. I will not.
That's what's good about Amanda, folks, is she wants to learn not by just reading the answer. She wants to learn by reasoning it out the way it's supposed to be. You can figure it out, but we'll get to that. So X-Lady, that's an infrared image, shows the heat map of Jupiter. And the thing about the pictures, we've seen heat maps of Jupiter before, but this particular one is the most detailed ever taken from the ground. And it's really quite stunning. There's so much detail in it. It's almost like you were taking the image from an automated probe surrounding Jupiter, But I have to say that when we talk about the planet Jupiter, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on the planet Jupiter that has had some significant impact on life on this planet here. And it takes 12 years for Jupiter to go around the sun. And it's quite a lot further than we are, over 5 astronomical units. So it's takes it a while, it's past the asteroid belt. So, but it's affecting life here for billions of years, Now, the other thing Jupiter does is Jupiter has also acted like a shepherd that's tending its flock, but its flock are big space rocks. A flock of rocks, so to speak. And those rocks are in the asteroid belt. And when Jupiter works its way around the sun, right, the asteroids, which are closer to the sun, are going around the sun a little faster. And that varies because the belt has some width to it. So the ones closer to Jupiter go a little bit slower than the ones farther from Jupiter toward the center, toward the inner solar system. And so that differential, and the fact that Jupiter is moving slowly around all of them, that differential causes Jupiter to act like a shepherd holding its flock in check as it goes around the sun. It's tugging on all the asteroids. It's tugging on every other planet, including the sun, actually, in our solar system entirely. And so as it does so, it has been able to keep the asteroid belt from being perturbed so much by other influencers that may come through, that it gave us more of a chance to survive here. Jupiter, more than the moon, is probably responsible to a higher degree for life on our planet than the moon is. And I have many arguments for that. But that's for another time. So that said, when we look at the fact that Jupiter is acting like a shepherd, we go back to our asteroid 2020 BX12 that we were talking about before the break. It has a very highly elliptical orbit, and it can be a near-Earth object. And I told you I was going to tell you how close it came to us when it came by us. Now, I said it had an eccentricity of about 0.75. When it gets to 1, that's a parabolic orbit, so that's about as high as it can get, and it's not a bound orbit at that point. Everything below 1 means it's a high elliptical orbit going more towards circular as the eccentricity gets closer to 0. Okay. However, BX12, back on February 3rd of 2020, all right, because of the nature of its elliptical orbit, it crosses the Earth's orbit twice during its passage around the sun, once on the way in and once on the way out. Now, it goes out, like I said, a little further than Mars, to about 2.4 astronomical units. And then when it heads around the sun, it'll be closer to the sun than Venus is. And on the 3rd of February of 2020, BX12 passed by Earth at about 11 Earth-Moon distances away. Now, that sounds like far away, but it really isn't when you've got a space rock hurtling towards you at 50,000 miles an hour. So that's actually not too far away. And BX is actually a asteroid that's about 70 meters at the smallest, which is around 230 feet. And that's that's not a city killer. In fact, it might burn up in the atmosphere entirely. But boy, it put on quite a show, So in the sky, when looking at it in the sky, it was moving so fast that it moved over 1 degree per hour. Now, that's actually quite substantial. Consider that the moon is half a degree in size, so it moved 2 moon diameters per hour when you looked at it in the telescope. All right, but guess what? That's not the one to watch. The one to watch is 2011 ES4. That's the one to watch. Now, I knew you were all thinking that, okay? And they were thinking, hey, 2011 ES4. Well, hello, Mark. Of course that's the one to watch. Why is it the one to watch? Well, because on September 1st, 2020, this asteroid will be passing only about 75,000 kilometers from the Earth. That's 46,000 miles. The moon's distance is 240,000 miles, just so you know. So it'll be within the Earth-Moon distance. And the orbit is not known completely, but the error on the orbit takes it further away, if anything. But it's the one to watch. Now, keep in mind that these objects are relatively small, okay? ES4 is only about 19 to 43 meters. That's 62 to 141 feet in size. So it put on quite a show. And if we could see it, that is to say, the brightness of the asteroids is actually pretty dim. The asteroids that come through our solar system and come to the inner solar system, you might think you'd see them, big bright objects in the night sky. You know what? Many of them are very, very dim. Like one of the closest ones that passed by us was only like 4,500 miles away. But at the time it passed us, it was at magnitude 31. Now, just for, give you an idea, the star Vega in the summer sky directly overhead is magnitude 0. The higher number, the fainter it is. 5 is about the faintest you can see with your eyes from a dark spot. Okay, magnitude 5. And this was 31. So there's no way you can see it. Not even with SkyTour live streams telescopes, we would not see it. We would not even be able to catch that. So you can see that that's how dim these can be. And you say, well, why are they so dim? Well, many times they're dim because they're dark. In other words, there's dark material on their surfaces. And that dark material on their surfaces is actually something that really relates to how life formed on our planet. And as we're going to talk about, that in a little while. And we'll be mentioning that in the same breath as the concept of a tholin, That's Tholin, and Carl Sagan. For those that know what that means, you can put that in the chat, and I'm sure Amanda will say, look what we see. So, if we look, if you look at the size of this of ES12 here, I'm sorry, ES4, it's like at most it's 141 feet in size, so it is going to be quite dim, as I said. You're probably not going to get to see it. Maybe the Arecibo or Goldstone could actually view it and radio frequencies. But I want you to take comfort in the knowledge that it's humming by Earth a mere stone's throw away at perhaps 45,000 miles per hour. Just so you know. All right. So take comfort. Go back to your TV shows. Do some more streaming. But you got to watch out for these things, these errant rocks. And we have a list, as I told you, the Sentry list to check these errant asteroids. And unfortunately, we don't have all the answers for all the objects on the Sentry list. Some of them are still there. But as we learn the elements of these objects, we can pull them off the Sentry list. And there's an entire group that does just that. All right. It's nothing that I get involved with at all. I'm just a simple astronomer. These guys are the real eggheads. They sit there and they calculate, do computer models. They try to figure out if anything could happen to nudge this asteroid closer into the Earth's, line of fire, so to speak. And that's something that is a full-time job. Now, that said, I'd like to take us to our friend and colleague, Daryl Mason, coming to us live from the mountains of Colorado. And he's going to tell us something about another cosmic interloper that's entering our night and morning skies. Daryl, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Hi, everybody. You may remember the recent kerfuffle about Comet Atlas. We all had a lot of hope for it, but the nucleus of the comet fragmented and it basically disintegrated. Well, there is another comet on its way in. It's called Comet Swan, and it's the next one that people have really been looking forward to. I have been looking for Comet Swan the last few mornings. I haven't really found it yet, though I did see a little faint fuzzy over in the east before sunrise Saturday morning. I can't say conclusively that was it. But Amanda hopefully will post 3 links for me over in chat. The first one is spaceweather.com. Now, they have been carrying some excellent images of Comet Swan. It just so happens that they do not have one up at the moment, but this is a great site for future reference, and their content changes daily. Spaceweather.com, save the link if you like, and it's always there for future reference. Comet Swan has been down in the southern sky where we haven't been able to see it well up here, but it's been moving north day by day, and it actually crossed into the northern half of the sky just a few days ago. And people down in the southern hemisphere have been getting great looks at the comet, as happens with comets sometimes. Comet McNaught back in the day, they had excellent views of the comet from down south, yet we hardly got to see it at all up here in the northern sky. But now Comet Swan has crossed the celestial equator and is moving a little bit north day by day. It is low in the east before sunrise. If any of you got to see Bill's live stream for the Eta Aquarid meteor shower some days ago, is a little bit farther east than the radiant point for the Eta Aquarids were. As it moves north, there are a couple of things happening, sort of countering each other. And some of it I still have trouble visualizing. When Comet Swan was still in the southern sky, consider that people south of the equator, the sun was rising later for them each morning because they are moving toward winter, So the sun rises later and sets earlier. And it was giving them a better window of opportunity, so to speak, to see the comet. it was getting up higher in the sky before morning twilight. The rosy fingers of dawn took over. Well, we're in the opposite boat here in the northern sky because we are heading towards summer, and the sun has been rising earlier every morning. And when I went out and looked for it Saturday morning, I went out about 4:30, and I watched for about 20 minutes with binoculars looking east. Uh, the sun is coming up earlier every morning, so even though the comet is moving farther north, which in and of itself should let us see it earlier, the earlier sunrise every morning is countering that, and astronomical twilight was well underway by the time the comet was high enough to see from my location here in Colorado. That is going to change day by day, however, as the comet continues moving north. Amanda, if you would post the second link, the Sky and Telescope article, this is an excellent article from Sky and Telescope magazine about the comet's apparition for us, for everybody. It will give you tons of information. There are some good images there. And if you just do image search for Comet Swan, you'll see some knockout pictures. The tail is like 10 degrees or so long. The comet is presently at fifth magnitude. And as it is moving north along our horizon, it's also rising a bit day by day. And it's going to get to the point here in some days from now that it will start becoming visible before sunrise. Now, that means still you have to get up like 4 o'clock in the morning if you want to look for it at this time. The comet is going to be closest to Earth on May the 12th, just 2 days from now. And then the comet is going to be at perihelion, closest to the sun, on May 27th, if I remember correctly. And by then, the comet is presently in Pisces, the next constellation east from Aquarius, where the Eta Aquariids were. And it is moving north bit by bit, day by day. But in 3 weeks, it's going to move all the way from Pisces across Triangulum, Perseus, and to the constellation Auriga, the Charioteer. That's the constellation that has Capella, the goat star, the bright star in the northeast you see in the fall. And by then, the comet is going to be for a while both a morning and an evening object. That when we look at Auriga and Capella in the evening sky, it's getting close to setting over in the northwest after sunset. But the comet is going to be very close to Capella. And by the morning, well, Auriga it's almost a circumpolar constellation, not quite, but almost. So, but by the morning sky, Auriga and Capella will be rising again in the northeast. And the comet is going to be close to Capella on both those occasions. Now, by the end of May and early June, it's going to be, for a while at least, better in the evening than it is in the morning. And as I expressed to Mark, golly, I hope you have a good northwest horizon, that maybe we'll get a chance to see this. Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you and all of us. If you see the images, again, Sky and Telescope article has some good ones. And if you just do a Google image search, there's going to be tons of them come up. A guy named Gerard Riemann down in Namibia in southern Africa has been taking some absolutely knockout images of the comet. It's got a beautiful, fascinating, twisted and kinked tail. It's showing the green color of the cyanogen or the cyanide, all that stuff. Hopefully we'll have something to look at here in the next few weeks. And the comet, again, it's moving very quickly. It's going to march quite a ways across the sky between now and the end of May. So I'll give you something to look forward to. If you can get up early, go out and try to find it. If you can stay up after sunset here into May, 1st of June, well, it'll be a little easier, and hopefully we'll have something to look at. Hopefully something beautiful. And that's pretty much what I have to say. Oh, and the third link I wanted Amanda to post for you. This is the Sky Live. It's a super website. And the page is their page for Comet Swan. Tons of information there. It has the ephemeris, and look for the interactive sky chart. And you can play with the time and the date and manipulate the comet in the sky, so to speak, so you can see what it's going to do in your area. And you need to load your area into the page also.
Yeah, we use the Sky Live as well for Sky Tour live stream. So, Daryl, thank you very much. That was outstanding. I think Comet Swan is going to be an object we're going to be seeking in Sky Tour live stream. So I'm hoping that you'll be there to do that with us, Daryl, because I wouldn't want to do it without you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I couldn't hit the.
That's okay. Your mic will, when you get your mic back, we'll continue to talk. I would like to say, right on the heels of what he's talking about with the Comet Swan, it's an actual great segue for tonight's feature on astrobiology, because most of the chemistry that has found us from the solar system has come from comets and cometary impacts. We've probably been hit by not hundreds of thousands, but perhaps millions or even more comets over the course of the Earth's lifetime. And comets, of course, brought water. Certainly when they're striking the Earth, they're not just like dumping water out of like a pail into the ocean. No, but they're sending a lot of water vapor and compounds that contain water into our atmosphere. And of course, the Earth processes these, and these become part of the Earth's atmosphere over time. But comets do bring us CO2. They bring carbon monoxide. They bring cyanogen, which is carbon and nitrogen together. And they also bring a host of hydrocarbons and organic compounds. This feature of comets is such that we can't ignore comets in the sky, because they have actually played a great role in the furthering of life on Earth, And so with that, first I'm going to check and make sure Daryl's okay. Daryl, you all right?
I am. Sorry. Thank you.
There you go. Not just making sure.
Yeah, well, I know about muting, but it snuck up on me and I couldn't hit the mute.
No one chastises you for it, Daryl. As Amanda says, welcome to live radio.
I find little things like that endearing.
Well,
makes people human.
Yeah, we're all human.
I like it.
Actually, I like the human. The human animal is a very interesting animal. Let me tell you. Now, tonight's feature on astrobiology. Well, first of all, what is astrobiology? It's a science, first of all, that would not exist had we not detected complex organic compounds in meteors and comets, as Daryl was just talking about. So really, what does it mean? Clearly, it means that life elsewhere is far more likely than we've ever thought when we detect these complex organic compounds in meteors and comets. Now, I say clearly, and other astronomers will say maybe or remotely possible. They don't want to make that leap. As you know, I've been saying this literally since before I got my astronomy degree. I was talking to my observatory director and told him that I believe it's a populated universe. The building blocks of life are everywhere we look, I told him, and we're based on carbon. Every animal is based on carbon. We're bilaterally symmetric. That means something. That's a template that the universe provides for, because nearly every creature on the planet is bilaterally symmetric. Starfish are, 5 arms, okay? But guess what? As larvae, they're bilaterally symmetric creatures that they mature into pentamerism, or the 5 sides. We have radial symmetry and so forth. The symmetry is probably, in my view, a product of how our body's cells multiply. And so that said, it's a very important lead-in, because since we talk about these building blocks of life everywhere we look, and the templates the universe provides, like carbon, okay, and that is also the reason that I wrote the book, The Populated Universe. The book literally, in fact, this show, in retrospect, as I think about it, contains many of the topics that are also in the book. and that I feel are really crucial to understanding how life elsewhere can exist at all, and how life here has continued to exist. So it's pretty interesting. So tonight we're actually going to look at our own solar system, and we're going to look for interesting parallels that help us resolve the riddle of life. And it's kind of cool. And I know that we're going to do that right after the break. But I do want to just mention, first of all, I want to thank Daryl for that excellent summary of Comet Swan. And Amanda, I want to say to you that I promise this year we will do a Messier marathon for you.
Ooh, did you guys hear that?
Now,
you all hold him to it.
And you know what? When we come back, you can explain to them what a Messier marathon is, all right? But right now, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to enter into our astrobiology feature after Amanda tells us what a Messier marathon is. We'll be right back, folks.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy and gross. Bugs, I hate bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. I know. I use Orange Guard. Plus, all of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It promotes a healthier planet, and here's a bonus. Orange Guard cleans where it's sprayed. Plus, it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard.
You can get Orange Guard at Ace Hardware. And listen, folks, Orange Guard is tougher than bugs, and it's safe to use. Go to orangeguard.com. That's orangeguard.com.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey everyone, this is Nick Redfern and you're listening to Sky Tour Radio with Mark D'Antonio on the KGRA network, and so are the Men in Black.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hey, this is Mark again with Sky Tour Radio here on KGRARadio.com with the greatest listening audience on Earth. I'm here with Amanda and Daryl, and you know what? We're having a good time tonight. You know, we're talking about astrobiology tonight. But before we get going and we start into that topic, I mentioned before that I made a promise to Amanda, my wonderful co-host here, that I would do a Messier marathon this year. And Daryl heard me say it. You all heard me say it. So, but what is a Messier marathon? Amanda, you can tell them. Go for it.
I hope I can explain this properly. From what I understand, there are certain times. Well, I guess you can do it all year, but there are like certain times that are better to do it, where you can actually Charles Messier was actually looking for comets but every time he found something that wasn't a comet, he wrote it down in a book or whatever. He wrote it down. He made a note of it.
Yep.
And now we have 110, 115,
110.
110. Ooh, okay, 110 Messier objects. And certain times they're better than others, but the marathon is to actually image all 110 Messier objects in a 24-hour period. And you just heard, Mark promised.
Yeah, I don't know if I should say
It's
that.
going to be a long stream. That's why it's called a marathon. But I mean, just
yeah, no, that's true.
Well, I mean, I guess there's probably like little breaks in between. You know, it's not like we only have like 2 minutes at each object in like a 4-hour period to do it. You know, like it's an all-night thing, an all-morning thing. But isn't it like dusk till dawn, basically?
Basically.
Yeah,
So,
and
like
you got
12
to start.
hours.
You got to start at dusk and end near dawn to actually do it. You know,
Yeah.
you don't. You have to really take every. You have to take every bit of that time.
So, I mean, when you decide when we're going to do it, we will definitely start letting people know. Because if you want to be part, I would suggest maybe working on altering your sleep for those few days, like a day or two before, so you can actually pull this off with us. I mean, we'll save it. It'll always be uploaded later, but the live experience of actually pulling it off, I think that's going to be really, really fun.
Well,
I hope you guys can all join us.
would
I'm
you
excited.
would you mind if I just kind of like watch the stream and not have to participate? No, never mind. Okay.
You know what? No, you know what? I could probably fill in from time to time if you wanted to rest your voice or grab something to eat or something. I would be going by like Wikipedia and stuff, but I'm assuming Daryl would be there. I don't know if he wants to commit to the whole 12 hours, but
I think, if I start it, I don't think I could walk away from the telescope. I would have to stick through it. I really would, because once you do something like this, I don't know, it becomes like OCD, an obsessive compulsive disorder, where you have to actually, you must finish this, you must do this. But yes, and now
we're gonna have to work it out perfectly. I mean, we can't get like clouded out halfway through. We're like in the last 2 hours or something.
Oh, I know.
We're really gonna have to time this well.
That's the risk we run. Now, here's another question for you, Amanda. Okay, you're right about 110 objects, but what's the first object and what's the last object? Do you know?
Are you kidding me? Well,
Measure 1. What is it?
M1 and M110.
Yeah. Don't tell.
Oh, you know what? Oh, I actually did remember the first 5, and now I can't remember because I didn't practice.
Okay.
Ling practices 40 hours a day, so.
Hint,
should know M1, Amanda.
Measure 1, and it's in the constellation of Taurus. Taurus the bull.
It's right near the tip of one of the bull's horns.
That's right. And we look at it.
Aldebaran?
No, that's a star. Measure 1 is not the measure object is stars.
Oh, yeah.
They might be star-eyed, but measure 1 is a star that actually has passed on. Does that help? Don't worry, it's only live radio.
No, that's the star too. Hold on. I wasn't expecting this. You never asked me about the moons of Jupiter, and I worked them out.
I'm gonna get to that in a minute because we're actually
one thing at a time. Oh my god.
Ask you. It wasn't ready for it. I have to get to that part first.
M1 has 6 legs, Amanda.
Oh, that's not gonna help her.
2 legs.
Sure it will.
My first instinct is the Crab Nebula, but it can't be that.
Why? Why can't it be that?
Because what would a crab be doing in Taurus?
Oh my gosh! It's a nebula named after the appearance of the supernova remnant. That's all. You're thinking too far.
I'm right. Crabs don't have 2 legs.
I said 6 legs.
Oh, 6. Oh, I thought you said 2. And that threw me off even more. I'm like, okay, I don't know why I was thinking crab then, because okay, I should doubt myself.
All right,
I couldn't even guess what 110 would be. It was the last. these are images imaged how he saw them, right? So this would have been the last object he saw before he kind of gave up, or
I actually personally don't know whether he just made a list and then arbitrarily named them
because
later.
they're not in order like west to east or anything.
I believe they are listed in the order they were found.
Yeah.
Messier did not actually discover all 110 Messier objects. So,
Right.
Pierre Michain and other astronomers contributed to the list, but
Messier got
the list was pretty much written in order.
Yeah. So 110.
Well, give me a clue on 110.
It's
Andromeda
close to the it's close to the Andromeda Galaxy.
It's not the Andromeda Galaxy. That's Messier 31.
Yep, but it's close to it.
It is, in fact, as Daryl says. And there's people in the chat who are probably going, I know what it is.
This must be so painful for people to listen to. It just occurred to me we're still on air. Oh, this must be painful for people to listen to. I'm sorry, guys.
It wasn't.
Amanda,
is Andromeda the one that was captured by the sea monster? Because Cassiopeia was her mother and said she was more beautiful?
Andromeda, the constellation, yes. Andromeda was Cassiopeia's daughter.
Yes.
And she was ordered to, the gods compelled her to sacrifice Andromeda by giving her to Cetus, the sea monster, which we now call the whale.
And Perseus saved her?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is this helping me? Am I on the right track with this story?
I don't know.
For the Messier object?
You're not going to find mythology that helps you figure out what M110 is, though.
No.
So
Well, I'm thinking of things that are close to Andromeda, and I'm thinking of the things I named were.
You're thinking the constellation, and we're thinking the Andromeda Galaxy.
Right.
Oh.
But the Andromeda Galaxy is in the constellation Andromeda.
That's correct, yes.
And Mark has shown us that also many times, Amanda, M110.
You know what? In the interest of just moving on, I'll have to tell you, Amanda, because it was sort of an unfair to spring it on you. I just wanted to know if you knew. Messier 110 is actually a small satellite galaxy to Andromeda. All right. We see M110 whenever we take a picture of Andromeda with the wider field. You can actually see M110 in the field as well. And so it sort of looks like it's superimposed over the galaxy. So I didn't think you'd ever probably get that, so I had to tell you. I'm sorry.
So what is the official name?
Messier 110 is it's a galaxy. It's a satellite galaxy to Andromeda, Messier 31.
And you can also see
the satellite galaxy.
Yeah, it's an elliptical.
You can also see M32 in the same field.
That's correct. The Messier 32 is another satellite galaxy. You have Messier 32, and if you think about it, Messier apparently went back to constellations over and over because to find M110, he had to go back.
I was going to say, yeah.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
So
but anyway, yay, Messier Marathon for Amanda.
Yeah, and we'll do that, and I'm gonna I'll get into it, I promise. But we'll probably be doing it from the Arizona site, remotely, because we can actually use the Arizona site as well as that's sort of cheating though, because you're supposed to use all one telescope, really, and but we could use the West Coast 2,500 miles away. We'll use that site, and then we'll use the Connecticut site to do the cleanup. For any that we missed that Arizona had we couldn't see in Arizona. Yeah, we can do it.
That sounds like about a 3-pot coffee night.
Yeah. So, folks, talking about the Messier objects, those are fun things we're going to do. The Messier marathons. You see these at star parties too. People do them, and when people do them, don't get in their way. Okay, just don't. Because if you get in their way, they will chastise you. They will yell at you. They'll call you names you never even knew existed if you get in the way of their telescope. And if you bump the telescope, you might as well just, leave. Okay, but if you do, make sure you leave your headlights off or else you'll get yelled at again. Not that I ever did anything like that. So, yeah, got in people's way a lot. So when we talk about, we go to our feature of astrobiology, one of the things we want to do is we want to talk about our own solar system and look at the interesting parallels that are occurring with other planets and moons in our solar system and think of them in terms of the Earth. And of course, no discussion would be complete without going to Mars. Right now, life on Mars has been the subject of science fictions and movies for literally more than a century. Okay, and the case for life on Mars actually is pretty strong, albeit circumstantial. All right, the Curiosity, Spirit and Opportunity, and the Mars Global Surveyor, and several other systems that were orbiting Mars and on the Martian surface have all found evidence for flowing water on Mars. Curiously, these little hematite beads, these blueberries as they were called because they were shown in false color, these were formed in the presence of water. That's pretty much the only way they could form, and there's billions of them. And so it indicates that the area where the rovers were rolling was once a submerged standing liquid. Now, you think about it now, and it's like, how could that be? Because Mars' atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide, CO2. But it was dense enough to allow liquid water to be on the surface. But that was around 3.8 billion years ago. Now, let's take a snapshot of what the solar system looked like that long ago. We had just come through a heavy bombardment era. It's a time when the moon was pelted, the Earth was pelted. A lot of the bodies in the solar system were pelted endlessly by massive asteroids and comets and meteors, leaving their telltale marks on them now, known as craters. But the heavy bombardment era was pretty much over by that time. And at that time, Mars might have been hospitable enough for life. And at that time, Mars also had a magnetic field, like the Earth. We're talking about parallels too tonight. And this magnetic field was created by something known as the dynamo effect. Just like here on Earth, there's an inner core that's a solid iron nickel core, and it sits there, and around the outside of that core is an outer core, which there's less pressure as it gets out, and so now that material can be molten. And so it's molten, and it's also rotating against this inner core. And these are conductive substances, so they generate an electric current. And whenever you generate an electric current, you get a magnetic field associated with that electric current. And because of this particular electric current, like on Earth and like on Mars, we get what we expect, and that's a dipole magnetic field. We have a north pole and a south pole. And this dynamo on Mars provided a magnetic field for Mars for a long time. And the problem that occurred was that this dynamo on Mars began to wane over the eons. In fact, over millions of years, the magnetic field began to wane. What does that mean? It means that the electrical currents started to get smaller, which means that the core started to cool. And there was less molten material rolling around in the outer core against the inner core, less of a dynamo effect. And so Mars' magnetic field began to wane. And as it waned, then the process that we see today happening on Mars began. And that process was that the ultraviolet energy from the sun, normally trapped, and the highly charged particles that are trying to enter the atmosphere would normally get trapped by the magnetic field, and these highly charged particles would never make it to the ground. But now, the ultraviolet energy and the magnetic field being gone, the ultraviolet energy and these highly charged particles made it to the ground on Mars, and they sterilized life. Now, the other thing that happened was a thick atmosphere can ward off some of the ultraviolet energy. So how is it that the ultraviolet energy managed to sterilize the ground? Well, what happened was, as this dynamo started to fail on Mars, the water vapor in the atmosphere of a planet which had lots of water the water vapor was ripped apart by this solar energy through a process called photolysis. It's a form of photodisassociation where the sun's energy strikes an H2O molecule, 2 hydrogens and an oxygen, and it separates the bonds of the H, the hydrogen, and the O, the oxygen. And the hydrogen gets lost to space, and the oxygen is now free to combine with another oxygen or go down into the ground and combine with other things down there. And that's precisely what happened over billions of years. And so Mars actually started to get a thinning atmosphere because of this. And as the atmosphere thinned, because the water vapor and other materials were being literally disassociated by the solar energy, then the solar energy could reach the ground even stronger. And so Mars' surface is pretty much dead. It's been sterilized by the UV from the sun. The atmosphere is literally just a tiniest of a fraction of our atmosphere. It's way less than 1% of our atmosphere. And the pressure is really low. It's effectively a vacuum. Yet you see pictures with Spirit and Opportunity and Curiosity, and you see sometimes clouds, and you see that it has a horizon. You see an atmosphere. You see sunlight, that's sort of, hazy sun because it's looking through a lot of quote unquote air. That's true, but you're looking at a very, very thin atmosphere. And the dynamo dying on Mars was the death knell for any life that may have been forming there. Now, it's possible that life underground could have taken root and continued. And that's a very strong possibility. We know that because there are ways in which when we look at Mars now, we can see that there are reservoirs deep under the ground that have liquid water to this day. Because under the ground, there's enough pressure to maintain liquid water because, remember, it's temperature and it's pressure. And so with higher pressure, then you can have liquid water, even on Mars. So that said, the water level on Mars now is, well, it's all now in the strata underneath this dusty reddish coating on Mars. And we know that when the Mars polar lander went down and landed, it looked down and the dust had scoured away underneath the lander, and you saw solid ice. It was literally sitting on ice, water ice. Okay, so we know there's a lot of water on Mars. Much of it is locked up in the subsurface strata. Now, Mars is, of course, romantic. We love to think about going to Mars. We'd like to visit Mars. But you know something? It's really not that pleasant a place. The temperature is way below zero. Okay, it's not. You're not going to reach an 80-degree day Fahrenheit on Mars. You'll be minus 70 on average. Okay, which is not bad for Mars. A lot colder than Antarctica. In fact, to study Mars, we look in the dry valleys of Antarctica, because the dry valleys in Antarctica are called dry valleys because it's literally no water. It's arid as heck there. And so studying those dry valleys actually helps us to study the current situation at Mars. Now, we look in Mars rock strata, and all this evidence of the watery past is there in the rock strata. The geologic record preserved this for all time. And about 16 million years ago, there was a large impact on Mars, and it shot off a lot of debris off the planet along with some of the atmosphere. And one particular meteor made its way here over the intervening time that was blasted off of Mars. It came into the inner solar system, got captured by the Earth, re-entered our Earth's atmosphere, and landed on the Antarctic ice sheet, all right, as a meteorite. And it contains a record of Mars at the time that it was blasted off of Mars. And that meteorite is called the Allen Hills 84001 meteorite, right? So AH 84001. Now, this meteor had very strange structures within it, things that look like fossils. Now, you may have heard of this. There was a report that went public in 1996 suggesting that these structures were microfossils of bacteria from Mars. Now, the chemical composition of this meteorite unequivocally shows it is from Mars. Now, this rock from space contains some things which are very important to life. Among them, and I'll name them, there were carbonate minerals. Now, what are carbonate minerals? Well, they're similar to minerals on Earth that are deposited by biological life. Carbonate materials include iron, calcium, sulfur, magnesium, phosphorus, and it's characterized by what's called a carbonate group. Say you go back to your high school chemistry, and the carbonate group is a carbon and 3 oxygens, so CO3, right? So calcium carbonate, Ca, calcium, CO3, carbonate, calcium carbonate. That's the chemical composition. But the calcium carbonate chemical composition in a mineral form, a structural form, is called calcite. And that's what calcite is. We also have magnesium carbonate. There's lots of carbonates, trust me. I mean, many, 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 but just to give you a couple. And that's magnesium carbonate, MgCO3, magnesium carbonate. That's the chemical name, but in its mineral structure, it's called magnesite. And these are all potentially formed by flowing water that's going through rock. And then we have things that are called PAHs. What are those? Well, they stand for something crazy sounding. It's a polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. What? Well, they're significant because they form from the biological breakdown of plant life, right? And they're composed of carbon atoms. Now, when we think about it, okay, these are the things that were found in this meteor. Okay, they're composed of carbon atoms, and they form a ring like a hexagon, and multiple rings make up a polycyclic ring of carbon atoms, and they make up the hydrocarbon. Now, for those of you that remember benzene is probably one of the most famous rings you know about. It's a set of 6 carbon atoms with a hydrogen off of each of the carbon atoms, right? Now, that's just one ring. So it's not considered a polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. It's just benzene, all right? But you put many of these together, and now you have something more complex, and it's a polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. Aromatic meaning it has an odor. But remember I talked about the magnesite, okay? Well, there's also magnetite crystals in this meteor, and that's similar to Earth magnetite. And the weird thing about that is the shape of the crystals are very important here, all right? So we talk about carbonate minerals formed by biological life, PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are caused by the breakdown of plant life, and magnetite crystals, which are made through bacterial decomposition. You make them in your brain, all right? And the shape is really important. It's hexaoctahedral. Say that 3 times fast. Hexaoctahedral. And that hexaoctahedral shape is something that actually indicates biological formation, all right? And all living creatures will have magnetite in them. But finally, the real clincher within the meteorite was this electron micrograph showing rod-like, ROD, rod-like microfossils. That was most compelling of all. They look like a chain of tiny little segments, one after another. So was this incontrovertible evidence of life? Wow. Well, there were more studies done and offered different possibilities. In other words, there were detractors to this concept because, hey, we don't want there to be life. You can't just say that. And it's true. You really need to study these things carefully. I'm all for it. And I think it was an important thing to do. So regarding the carbonate minerals, there was one group that said these carbonate minerals alone don't prove that water was really there conclusively. And it could be that high temperatures maybe form these carbonate minerals under the right conditions. And then these polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons from the biological breakdown of plant matter. Well, there was another Martian meteor on the Antarctic ice sheet that showed the same number of these PAHs. Now, this suggests contamination from the ice sheet, meaning the ice sheet is the common denominator. So maybe this is the reason that those are in there at all. And they said, well, the PAH formation, these hydrocarbons, don't always require biological origins, okay? These PAHs can form in industrial processes and in interstellar space. And when they said about the magnetite crystals, they said, well, the shape is compelling, but the hexaoctahedral shape was not perfect, indicating possible inorganic formation at a high temperature. Inorganic meaning non-organic or non-biological. And finally, on the microfossils, they conceded they look just like bacteria that we have here on Earth. The meteor age indicates, that it was possible that at the time there were lakes and bodies of water on Mars. Their presence also supports these polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons from organic origin, but they were too small, and they could be mineral grains captured in the strata before it was blown off. Now, those are the arguments against. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the arguments for. And if you have a question for us, you can reach us at the number for KGRA, which is 85KGRA Live, or 855-472-5483. The lines are open. Coming back. Stay tuned.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Whether it's a natural disaster or one single child suffering from illness, the American Red Cross stands ready to supply blood when it's most needed. But blood is a perishable product. Therefore, it must continuously be replenished. You can safely donate blood every 56 days. The need is constant and patients are waiting. Call your American Red Cross at 1-800-GIVE-LIFE to schedule your life-saving appointment. Please give blood today. Patients are depending on you.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRARadio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Sky Tour Radio. It is Mark D'Antonio here, and I have Amanda Curran here, and of course, Daryl Mason, the astronomer's astronomer that we love to include in our show because he has a perspective that is just phenomenal. We enjoy his perspective. And he's an addition to Sky Tour Livestream, a wonderful addition, I might add. And he's probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Okay. You're back. I didn't know you heard me, Daryl.
And humble too.
Yeah, he actually is. And the thing is, when it comes to astronomy, I might be the big mouth doing a lot of the talking, but the truth is, I can't do it without Amanda. I can't do it without Daryl. These people have been my friends and colleagues for years now, actually. And Sky Tour Radio is a lot bigger than me. It includes Amanda. It wouldn't be the same without her. It wouldn't be the same without Daryl. So I also
better with Amanda.
Well, as you say, Daryl likes to say everything's better with Amanda. That's true.
Thank you. That's sweet.
Yeah. So so we were talking about the Allen Hills meteorite that had all these Martian indicators of life in them, including carbonate minerals, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, magnetite crystals. All those things could be formed in the presence of life and by life, right? And it had these microfossils that looked like it was life. So it turns out that they look like nanobacteria like we have on Earth, right? Well, the arguments against life and water on Mars were rebutted by the Mars meteorite team, which consisted of Everett Gibson, David McKay, and a female researcher whose name eludes me. It's not a respect thing. I simply don't remember her name. My apologies. But it was a team of 3, not just these two. And they talked about the carbonate minerals. The carbonates can form under high temperatures, yes, and they agreed to that because that was one of the arguments against the carbonates, forming in the presence of water. They can, but a wetter Mars allowed for the formation of carbonates, and we know that that's where this meteor came from and when. So the likelihood that it was formed from higher temperatures is really not likely, considering it came from a time when Mars had plenty of water. Okay, and as far as the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are again alone, they're not an indicator of life, but with the carbonate minerals present, it is a stronger indication of life, because now you have a polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon which forms from the breakdown of plant matter, but plant matter couldn't exist unless there was some water. So with the existence of carbonate minerals, the evidence is stacked on the life side. It's pretty interesting, okay? And then they talked about the magnetite presence. Additional studies show, and again, the detractors said, the shape is compelling, but the shape is not perfect, and it looks like it might have been, or could have been, inorganic formation at high temperature that made this magnetite, like we see in all living things. However, additional study shows, on top of there not being contamination that can explain the magnetite on the Antarctic ice sheet, for instance, but additional crystal types of this magnetite that were found do support a biotic or biological origin. And there's actually no evidence of high temperature formation at all. And now finally we come to these nanofossils. What were these? Okay, well, they think that these might actually be fossils of nanobacteria, not too small to mineralize into a fossil. They could be part of a larger bacteria. And that is something that leaves the way open for this meteor to being a groundbreaking possibility. Even back when it was found in 1996, it's still offering tantalizing clues. And it also serves as a possible and unfortunate mass extinction candidate, because it shows the decline of life on an entire planet potentially. Now, my personal feeling is that there's probably life underground on Mars. I don't expect to sift the soils and find life on Mars. I think that we're going to find it in pockets, the tenacious holdouts, for instance, that we might expect. Now, what I'd like to do is we have some callers. I'd like to grab some callers. So let's go take a caller right now. Hey there, this is Mark. You're on the air. Who's this and where are you from?
Hey, Mark. This is Mike from Michigan calling. How's it going?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Okay, let me hear. You had a question? Let us have it. Let's hear it. You must have something to say about all this stuff.
Matter of fact, I do. This is what I study. I study natural law, cosmic mechanics, magnetism, electricity, and the dielectric field.
Okay.
I'd like to get your take on this, Mark. The Earth supposedly has a North Pole and a South Pole, right?
Yep.
Because the Earth is nothing but a giant magnet, electromagnet, right?
Yeah, formed by the currents, the dynamo effect, we call it. Yeah.
What's the biggest electromagnet in our solar system?
The sun.
Okay. And Jupiter's pretty big too, right?
Yeah, about 20 times ours. Yeah, but the sun is bigger. The sun has a higher magnetic field. And it's again very, very highly charged environment, and we see the solar streamers following the magnetic field lines.
Right.
Pretty interesting. So you got to have a question in there. I want to hear it because you sound like you've got something interesting to tell me.
Well, I go by what's called field theory, but in my world it's field fact. I don't believe in the electron as a charge-carrying negative particle. So this is where science has failed us. You won't understand any of the cosmic mechanics or the paranormal or UFOs without understanding magnetism and electricity and the dielectric field.
Well, we're on the same page. We're on the same page
Right.
when you come to not understanding the cosmos unless you understand magnetic fields and electric fields. Yes, because that's actually a very important part of our understanding. I mean, we know that there's some stars, when they go supernova, they leave behind a neutron star that has a much higher magnetic field than we've ever been able to comprehend. Those are called magnetars. And those are just immense magnetic fields. And we do have to study those. We have to understand those magnetic fields, yeah.
Right, because everything in the universe, everything that's matter is made up of these microscopic that you can't see, these north and south individual pole magnets. They're flowing through everything. They're smaller than a particle of light, and they can travel faster through a metal than they can through anything else, but they're flowing all the time. See, there's not really what's called magnetic attraction. It's actually called dielectric acceleration. So what I'm saying is the magnet really doesn't have a pole. What a magnet has is these circulating north and south pole magnets. At the center of it is a plane of inertia. That's called the dielectric plane. This is what a black hole actually is. A black hole is just the absence of magnetism. It's where counter space is. Everything terminates into this deal called counter space. It's not really gravity.
When we study black holes, we can see that they have immense magnetic fields and immense radiation that is being given off as a result of the interaction at the event horizon that results in things we can see. So we see immense magnetic fields. So I think that whereas the dielectric science there's some validity. I think we have to be careful about going too far with it. But and I don't think you're going too far with it. I just think that we have to be careful not to make some assumptions about this.
It's pretty easy to see when
you can't. Go ahead. I'll let you say another thing. I got more callers, but go ahead.
You can prove it really easy. Take any high strength neodymium magnet and hold it up to a TV screen, a tube TV screen, with the CRT cathode ray tube. You'll see your black hole, and then you'll see your magnetism. It's pretty simple. That's how everything's working. We're held together by these magnets, and that's that's the glue that holds everything together. There's no God particle. It's these magnets.
Well, remember, at the beginning of tonight, we talked about a black hole that was found orbiting within a system of two stars, a binary system. And there was another black hole that had another star orbiting it. The black hole gave itself away because of its gravity. Now, if you hold a neodymium magnet up to a TV screen, You just have to study the physics of how those rays, those particles, are being bent by the neodymium magnet. If you understand that black spot that appears isn't the black hole that's got massive gravity. It's just a void created by the magnetic field. So we have to be careful about that.
It's the void of gravity, because there's no such thing as gravity. It's just dielectric. So you got two things. You got everything terminates into this.
I've heard that term a lot in the past. People like to say that, the dielectric process and so forth. But
it's easy. See, this is where the physicists wrote it out. When Einstein came in the 30s, they wrote this all out of all the textbooks. So they substituted their electron in place of north and south pole magnets.
When science was able to show what was really going on, then they changed the textbooks. That's another way to look at this. But, I do appreciate your call. I really do. I do have to move on to another caller. But do send me an email at skytourradio@kgraradio.com. I'd like to continue that conversation. All right? Will you do that for me, Mike?
Yeah. I don't have email, but I can leave you my number, Mark. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the call.
Bye.
Bye. I got to admit, it's fascinating to hear when people have these ideas. I like to pursue them, because even if I believe something different, I think it's important to listen to what people have to say. And as you can tell, I probably don't subscribe to the dielectric theory, but still, some of what he was saying could be considered factual based on how we look at systems. But some of it's also based on assumptions, too. Amanda and Daryl, I don't know if you have anything to add, but I would like to maybe move on to our next caller before we talk about Europa.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, let's take a next call here. Hey, this is Mark. You're on the air with Amanda and Daryl. Who's this, and why are you calling us?
Hi, Mark, and hello to Amanda and Daryl. All right. I'm doing good, and happy Mother's Day to everyone who
Thank you.
has
I'm happy to be a mother.
All right. But anyway, you're talking about comets and asteroids and basically the gravity of the sun and Earth and things like that.
Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle, yeah.
Okay, what do we do with... I asked this question a little bit before about the how comets and asteroids are coming in from out there into our solar system. Now the question that I might ask tonight is, what do we do with what you call a rogue planet, like Planet X or whatever, and then there's different names for it, and we only have 9 planets in our solar system, and I always thought it was always 9, never 8. Just personal opinion. But what is this rogue planet? Which there are planets that are just floating through space. They have no star or anything that are connected to. So where did they come from? Where are they going? And will they affect us at all?
Well, we've only just recently begun to suspect that rogue planets might be devoid in our devoid of a solar system, a star system. And by definition, I know that sounds like they are, but when I talk about rogue planets, if they're going to come near the sun, I think that we want to consider that a rogue planet would not be captured in a way that would end up orbiting the sun, because then it's not a rogue anymore. Now, it's possible that Pluto was a captured object that was out in the Kuiper belt, and Kuiper is spelled Kuiper for those that wonder. And the Kuiper belt is out beyond Neptune, past 30 astronomical units out, in the realm where Pluto lies and beyond. And this is where there's a lot of icy bodies. So maybe some of those bodies could be disturbed, or the word is perturbed, and be brought into the inner solar system. And when they do come into the inner solar system, maybe some of these smaller ones might end up being heated up by the sun, and then we might see some of the surface materials being boiled off and trailing behind them, in which case we have something called a comet. Yet when they're all the way out in the Kuiper Belt, they're just dormant. There's nothing coming off of them that far out. So it could be that many of the icy bodies in the Kuiper Belt are actually comets in waiting, and they may never come into the inner solar system at all. So as far as comets go, those could just be Kuiper Belt objects. Now, as far as a large planet out there, we don't see any disturbance or perturbation of the outer planets based on another gravitational attractor out there. See, so Uranus and Neptune are doing what they should. Pluto's doing what we think it should. There's some minor motions of Neptune that have been attributed to some of the objects farther out in the Kuiper Belt, but those have been sort of accounted for. So I think that when we look at rogue planets where there's no star system involved, you have to think about during the early formation of a star system. And I say star system as opposed to solar system, because a solar system is sun system, our system. A star system is forming, and let's say there's a lot of planets. Our solar system may have had Mercury, Venus, Ookla, and then Earth. Who knows? Maybe there was another planet after Venus and before Earth. We don't know that. There's no evidence of it, but I'm just saying. Or maybe there was one after Earth and before Mars. And during the early formation, as everything started to happen and stabilize, maybe that one planet reached an unstable, position that was untenable, and it ended up being ejected from the solar system. And that could have been, it could have been thrown into a parabolic orbit where it went around the sun and then just continued. And now in some other star system, they're seeing this planet come in, and it's our fault because we are the ones that made it and we're the ones that kicked it out. So it's possible that could have happened, Ronald, So rogue planets are a real possibility. When we see what happens with the asteroid belt, and when we see what happens with like Oumuamua was kicked out of its star system. It didn't get created out in interstellar space. It was created in a star system. And through some interaction with its star, it was thrown out of that star system. And it winged its way here for many billions of years until finally it winged by us in just a few short days, and made its way out of our solar system, never to be seen again. See, so that was a rogue Oumuamua, wasn't it? I mean, it was a rogue messenger from afar in Hawaii. And so I think that it was definitely something that, right? So I think it was definitely something that could be considered rogue, as could Borisov, the comet that just came through. And I'm sure Daryl was just thinking of Comet Borisov as well when I mentioned Oumuamua, because, exactly, because that was a rogue comet, right? Daryl, what do you know about Borisov? You must have looked at Borisov. I honestly looked at a little bit of it, but I didn't look at too much of the data about Borisov.
Very little, actually. I heard about it. I read about it. Interstellar comet was what I heard.
Yeah.
Interesting that, Oumuamua came in and everybody was saying, hey, first interstellar object. And then Borisov came in soon after. I don't know. Yeah. Just whatever the media said.
Yeah, there was no trick question there, Ronald. I was just trying to find out, because I didn't really know too much about Borisov, other than it was on a trajectory that was going to make it come in and leave. It's going to go in and leave at the same time. It's not going to stick around.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the call, and thank you, Bill, for taking my call, and thank you for the show tonight, and thank you for Amanda and Daryl being here, even if they're not feeling the 100%, but they're troopers. They're there with you.
Thank you for your call. Thank you for buying a telescope. Thank you for being an amateur astronomer. Thank you for living in a small postage stamp of a town.
There you go.
Which I think is fantastic. I love that little town. I won't tell them which town it is because I don't want you to having, stalkers. Where's Ronald? I'm going to find Ronald, But contact me, my email. I'll tell you everything. I'll give you the address. Anyway.
Groupies.
All right. All right.
Just kidding,
Thank you, though.
Thank you
guys,
for your call,
you guys have a great night, and we'll
Thanks
talk to you next time.
Be well.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. So yes, I mean the concept of rogue planets is a really interesting one, because maybe it was a rogue type planet that struck the Earth that made the moon. See, in the early solar system, we had something that struck the Earth, and that something, in our current understanding, actually made the moon. And so it's possible that was something that was a rogue. We don't know. We can do some reverse engineering, but not that much. But one thing we can do is we can study our current solar system. And continuing with the astrobiological bend tonight, let's talk about Europa. What's Europa? Well, it's one of 79 moons that are orbiting Jupiter, but this one is just a little special. Okay, it's 1,940 miles in diameter, and we've been there pretty often, actually. Pioneer 10 was there in 1973. It just did a flyby, but it saw that there was this brightness difference in Europa for the first time. It saw, hey, there's this bright thing out there. All right, and it was one of the Galilean satellites, and that's your cue, Amanda. The Galilean satellites were 4 of the 79 that were actually noticed by Galileo, named for him, and they are in order. Amanda?
I swear I just moved my paper as you said that, and I was thinking, should I just wait until the end of the show, or... Yeah. I'm ready, and I did it all by myself.
Okay, in certain order, in the order of closest to furthest, the 4 Galilean moons are, go for it, Amanda.
Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto.
She's absolutely correct. Ta-da! Well done. And what's interesting is Io is a seething cauldron of molten sulfur. It's the closest moon to Jupiter. There's no life there, okay? But it's actually a location where it's really hot, lots of sulfur volcanoes. And Ganymede and Callisto are farther out. But the thing about it is those are ice worlds. And under the surface, there might be something. There might be something underneath the surface that we might be able to see at some point when our technology gets better. But Europa does have stuff underneath the surface that we think is there. And when the probes went to Europa over the years, we actually culminated in 1995 with the Galileo probe, which orbited Jupiter. And it actually found the first evidence of there being a deep water reserve under the European crust. And it's, I can tell you that Europa is an icy world, and it's got cracks on the surface. And these many cracks, and no craters, by the way, no craters. And the reason is because Europa resurfaces itself. When there's cracks, or if there's a meteoric impact, it's sealed up and the ice changes so often because of the fact that stuff from the inside makes its way to the outside, resurfaces the moon, just like Pluto and Sputnik Planum, the plane of Sputnik, where we actually have Pluto resurfacing itself all the time. Same thing. And the thing is, the atmosphere of Europa, it has an atmosphere. And guess what? It's an oxygen atmosphere. Now, it's thin. I mean, disastrously thin. But it's created by this form of photodisassociation of water vapor, just like we talked about with Mars, called photolysis. High-energy plasma, which are protons and electrons, strike these molecules and rip them apart, leaving the oxygen and the hydrogen atoms to separate. The hydrogen's lost to space, and the atoms predominantly create this O2, which ends up bound to the surface of Europa. Now, the surface has these cracks I told you about, and the temperature at the poles is like 50 degrees Celsius above absolute zero. Now, absolute zero is minus 273 Celsius or minus 459 Fahrenheit. And the temperature at the equator is a balmy minus 160 Celsius or minus 260 Fahrenheit. And the surface is ice. It's hard as rock. but pressures from within will create pressures to actually cause a crack. And these fissures will also be the source of some geysers that spew out. Hubble spotted them, maybe. If so, it means that H2O geysers exist on Europa, which would confirm the water ocean underneath. And it'll take us about 2 to 6 years to get there to see again with the Europa Clipper. Now, we've only begun to scratch the surface, all right, of Europa. And we're actually going to talk about Europa again on the next Sky Tour Radio, as well as within Sky Tour Livestream. So if you would be so kind, go to Sky Tour Livestream on YouTube and subscribe. And we'll talk about Europa as well in the next Sky Tour Livestream, most likely. And we're going to talk about the ocean underneath Europa and how this ocean underneath Europa could mean a whole lot to the implications of life elsewhere.
Remember this, though. All these worlds are yours except Europa.
Attempt no landing there. Use the others together. Use them in peace, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's a great movie. Was it 2010?
I believe so.
Yeah. Well, folks, with that quote from the movie 2010 from Daryl, I want to thank you for listening to another Sky Tour Radio. Next week, we're going to finish up with Europa, and we're going to continue talking about more parallels with the Earth. It's a big subject, astrobiology, and we had a lot to cover tonight. So we got into it, and we're happy that you joined us. So hopefully next week you can tune in. And remember, look for Sky Tour Livestream and click the bell and get notified when we go live with the observatory. And remember to come back and listen to Sky Tour Radio. And when you do, don't be going outside right away. But when you do go outside and you look up, don't forget to keep looking for something deep in the night sky, all right? So just keep looking up.
You never know what you might find.
That's right. And don't be driving when you do, as Amanda always says. So good night, everybody.